Making sure it actually goes live. Make sure I turn off my VPN because it's on. Alright. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Geekus Theoreticus podcast, the 8th episode in the series. Yes, because the last 8th episode didn't exist. It does not exist. It is not in existence. So this is the 8th episode.
It does not exist, nor will it exist.
Never. But today we got a number of topics. First one we're going to talk about isn't on screen at the moment, so I'll just lower that. Enjoy this banner of... Well, I made this banner that you guys are going to see on stream. I won't say what it's for. Well, you can probably guess, but I won't say. I'll let your imagination run wild. But anyway, we'll wait a few minutes for some more people to hop in. Then we'll chop into our first topic. Nathan, welcome to the Geeky Syracuse podcast. Same with Murderous Kitten.
Welcome.
Welcome, guys. Welcome. Justin Oreo. Hey, welcome, Justin Oreo. Welcome. Alright, so we jumped up to 11 people, so I think we can get started with the topic. The first one is, as it's said shown on the thumbnail, and as it's seen in the title, the recent push for female space marines.
I wish this argument would just fucking die, but yeah, why not?
Well, because the thing is, it's not really an argument. It's people who are actually fans versus people who are ideologues. Like that's what's going on.
Yeah,
it's not fan v fan. It's fan v not fan trying to manipulate the franchise and the and the hobby to their own self interests.
Yeah, and honestly, to kind of backtrack a bit, one of the reasons we chose this topic is because of the shit happening in D&D, where people who have no fucking clue about the lore said that orcs are black people. And by the way, I completely disagree with that message. So anyone who says that, don't say it around me.
Yeah. Sisters of Battle, first off, let's welcome everybody who just jumped in. Crazy Crumb Cake, welcome. Murderous Kitten, I already welcomed you, but I'll welcome you again because you added me. Banner, a logo for Azagon's new sex toy shop? No. But that would be an interesting logo for a sex toy shop. I'll keep that in mind. Slanesh would love the axe shaped. Collected Gaming, welcome. Inquisitive Espara, and welcome. Sisters of Battle are Femme Space Marines. Actually, no, they're better. They're far more interesting. They're far more cooler. They're definitely something that is already established in the lore, so you don't have to retcon to fit them in. You know, they're pretty much not everything that's not that, and amazing for it. Same with Sisters of Battle. Sisters of Battles aren't female Space Marines, and they're better. They're far more interesting.
I will say,
imagine that.
I will say, technically, 1v1, any Astartes should be able to just curb stomp a Sister of Battle.
No, but that's the thing. That's the thing I like most. Is from a logical perspective, it doesn't make sense, but I really don't care. The thing is, through sheer hard work, determination, and religious zealotry, these ladies are able to close the genetic gap between them and normal Astartes just through those elements of their nature. And that's what I find so fucking amazing about them. Is they're able to close that what's supposed to be this like canyon-sized gap just through sheer determination, hard work, and an obsession with the Emperor.
And Prince of Crows, welcome by the way, said that they're normal humans but still extremely badass. I'm pretty sure they're not. I'm pretty sure that's not true. I'm pretty sure they do undergo surgery similar to Space Marines, but not to the extent.
I'm not sure off the top of my head. As far as I'm aware of their lore, it's just they have advanced tech and training. As far as I'm aware.
I am looking it up now.
Yeah. Fact check us. You're a fact checker.
I'm very good at research, so...
You're not really all that late, Moraine. We only started 5 minutes ago? Yeah, sort of 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
If there is female Space Marines, I want male Living Saints and male Sisters of Battle. Well, the thing
there are male Living Saints.
There are male Living Saints, exactly. So the thing is, again, I just don't want them to fuck with this shit. Like, honestly, I will say this: if they were to add female Space Marines, I think a lot of people would just simply drop at least the continued lore. A lot of people would probably just keep their head canon before that moment, but I think a lot of people would no longer pay attention to any GW's lore updates because they wouldn't consider them real. It's the same with Star Wars. Like, most people consider the prequels and before canon, and that's it. Like, nobody's gonna give any kind of credence to the sisters, female Space Marines. Because the thing is, the reason I say that isn't just because, oh, women are bad, icky, ew. No, it's because if you add female Space Marines, you need to, not retcon, erase giant chunks of lore. It's not retconning. You'd have to erase it. You'd have to wipe the slate clean of certain lore. And why is anybody going to be interested in investing into this hobby, into this lore, if at any moment, just because the popular ideology of the day demands it, that the company's just going to drop giant chunks of their lore at the drop of a hat to satisfy a bunch of fucking cunts, really. I'll be frank, that's what I think of these people. They're people who aren't really fans. If you're a fan, you would know that in the lore it's been established time and time and time and time and time again that female Space Marines are not possible. The Emperor wasn't a progressive man, for one. For two, it's explained several times why the tradition has always been males receiving the gene seed and being raised up into that society. Thirdly, it doesn't make sense because it's not like Astartes really copulate. Sex organs don't serve a purpose for Astartes, so it's a pointless move that people are pushing for no good reason. And again, this is why I stand by the adage that if you demand female Space Marines, you are not a fan of 40k. It's as simple as that. If you demand female Space Marines, you're not a fan of 40k. You devalue the Sisters of Battle and the Sisters of Silence for your own ideological self-satisfaction. If you were an actual fan of this franchise, you would accept the established lore for what it is. And again, I don't know why these same ideologues don't demand more Sisters of Battle lines. Why they don't demand Sisters of Silence to get a goddamn update. Like, they have like one model. Sisters of Silence really need more shit. So if these so-called like non-bigoted pro-women shit people want this diversity, which, by the way, this hobby has been diverse for decades, but all of a sudden now it's not diverse enough. Like, we have entire factions in the lore dedicated to females and entire factions dedicated to male, and we have entire factions dedicated to both. And then we have plenty of factions you could say are quote-unquote non-binary gender, like the orcs. They don't have sex organs and shit. Like, we are, in terms of like how the ideologues like demand and look at the world, there's already so much quote-unquote what they would call diversity in this universe. They're literally barking up the wrong tree. They're quite literally barking up the wrong tree. And you can tell they're not really fans because, again, they're like, there should be female Space Marines in this male-dominated franchise. Male-dominated. There's Sisters of Battle, Sisters of Silence. You have the Eldar. You have the Dark Eldar, both of which have quite a few female figures in them. I could go on. You have non-binary race character things if you consider the orcs that, because they don't have sex organs. You know, we could go at Tyranids. They're not really, as far as I'm aware, like, they're not really, you know, they don't copulate. They just absorb biomass, so they also count. At the end of the day, I don't understand this argument. The only way you could possibly argue for female Space Marines is if you know nothing of the lore, if you know nothing of the franchise, and you care nothing for either of those two things. That's the only reason you would demand it. And the thing is, again, in terms of how gender plays a role for Astartes, it doesn't. It doesn't play a goddamn role. It's pointless. The Astartes are killing machines. That's all they're really meant to do. They're not meant to do anything with sex organs. Like, they're eunuchs, as far as I'm aware. Well, they have the organ, but they can't do anything with it. I'm pretty sure they're sterile.
Okay, I found the answer. So, no, traditionally, Sisters of Battle are not genetically modified.
Thank you.
They're just...
That's what I thought I knew.
Yeah, they're just peak human.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing is that's what I remembered from their lore is that they closed that genetic gap completely with just pure hard work, determination. If you really want to look at it as like women, it's kind of like the ideal situation of men and women working together. If you really think about it, like from a very specific situation, because these women don't hate Astartes or hate men. Like, they're not like the stereotypical feminists nowadays. They're women who are strong, who are fighting for something they believe in, and fight equally alongside men that they respect. They respect Astartes, and Astartes respect them. You could say that in that way, it's an ideal situation. They fight alongside each other on equal terms.
Yeah,
so, again, from the feminist point of view, shouldn't this be, like, peak? Shouldn't this be, like, the peak of representation?
Well, and also I'm pretty sure no one who has played either any of the Imperial factions in Dawn of War 1. If you play as the Blood Ravens, they actually, after you after you completely annihilate the Sisters of Battle, it goes into detail about how, they didn't, just bloodthirstily, like, mow them down. They only killed who they needed to and tried to spare who they could. And, tended to the wounded after the battle. And I believe for the Sisters of Battle, it's the same thing going the other way.
Yeah.
So, even though the Blood Ravens are like one really bad day from going full on chaos, it showed that respect. And that's only one example, and it's not a great example, but it does show that it does kind of go back and forth.
Yeah. So let me just let me swing through the comments, catch any. First off, I want to welcome some people who hopped in since we started this. Debino, welcome as always. Bruni, welcome. Kevin Nicholson, welcome. I'm trying to welcome everybody before I actually read through these. Carnith, welcome. Jorge, welcome. I had a lot of hashtag blame Murdas in there. Xerus, hey, what's up, man? This is a subject I'd like to throw my 2 cents in on, if that's okay with y'all. Yeah, you can go ahead and type it. Need more for Sisters of Silence. Those girls can 1v1 in Astartes along with Red. They about the same height at some. Yeah, Sisters of Silence are pretty fucking big humans. Like, they're pretty huge. And I'm pretty sure they're natural as well. I don't think there's any genetic enhancement with them either, if I recall correctly. I do know that they're all null psychers.
Yeah, they're considered mutants, because I'm pretty sure most of them are. I'm not even sure they're blanks. I think they're all fucking full-on pariahs.
They're either pariahs or blanks. I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure they are. I'm pretty sure that's a prerequisite.
Yeah, so...
But the point is they need a lot more models, because I'm pretty sure they only got, like, 1 line of models. And it bothers me. I'm like, all these groups that are like, female space marines. You don't know jack shit, because I'm over here going, can we please get, like, 1 new line of goddamn Sisters of Battle or Sisters of Silence, please? Like, please! I want to collect them, but there's nothing to collect. Well, Sisters of Battle, there's plenty to collect right now. They got recent updates, but for Sisters of Silence, there's like fucking nothing. Like, come on, people.
And they're all pariahs, which is just blanks on crack.
Right, so they are all pariahs.
But now, and also for them being able to 1v1 Space Marine, that is very situational.
Well, they can definitely take on Grey Knights. Because they'd have an advantage. Exactly, they'd have a huge advantage against Psychers and Librarians, for sure.
But if you, like, put a Sister of Silence up against, say, I don't know, a World Eater? Oh, no. Oh, no. They're getting the fuck kicked out of them.
Probably.
Space Wolf, as much as I fucking hate admitting it, because I like torturing Space Wolves, but Space Wolf could probably 1v1 them.
Yeah. They are purely meant for... The thing is, if we could get update to their lore, though... Because when was the last time... I don't remember the last time Sisters of Silence even got mentioned in recent lore. They're just really left in the dirt. And I don't know why. I really don't know why. Again, all these supposed... Ooh, true fans of 40k want female Space Marines. No, you don't, because you're not even advocating for the current female factions to get an update, which I do. I want the Sisters of Silence to get a goddamn update. I can't say that enough. Like, I'm hoping GW hears this. Please. Please. I actually love their lore. I want to make an army with them. I don't want to make a Custodes army and throw them in there. I want them to be their own thing. Flesh them out a little bit more, but not with your political nutjobness. Actually, in-universe shit. Please. Please. Alright, now let me zip through the comments and see. I'll read the ones that at me, because there's quite a bit that have shown up in the chats as we got along. Asgon, you ultimately need female Primarchs for female Astartes, and that isn't a thing. Correct. And I've heard the argument, the excuse, really. It's not really an argument, it's an excuse. And again, this would have to be a retcon for the Lost Legions to have been Primarched by females. Like that, like female Primarchs. Which, a lot of, like, the Erda thing kind of opens up that door, and I hope to God GW will grow a brain cell and say, yep, that's not canon, by the way. That was just some fan fiction we threw in. I really hope they do that, because that Erda shit is definitely how I see them, you know, throwing that in there.
Everything I have seen doing research on the Legions to date has always said that it was the Chaos Gods that threw the Primarchs to the war. Not once have, in my research, have I seen speak about Erda as canonical.
Exactly. She's a retcon. She was thrown in recently. Like, the beginning of this year, and I believe March is when that book came out. They were writing it probably a year before, but still, that was a year wasted.
Also, something else on that note is even mentioned, for the most part, in passing, that the lost two Primarchs are both men too. So,
I'm pretty sure it's been referenced.
Yeah, because if I remember right, it's Lehman Russ who mentions killing. I think he killed at least one, if not both of them, and they mention them as brothers.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I know for a fact he did say he referred to having killed Primarchs before. I can't remember if he...
new subscriber.
Thank you to whoever subscribed. But he definitely referred to... he referred to not two Primarchs specifically, I don't think he gave the number, but he said when it came to the Horus Heresy and about to face Primarchs, he said he'd killed them before, he killed some before, or that this wasn't his first time fighting Primarchs. So it's definitely, at the very least, heavily suggested he killed at minimum one of the two Primarchs. At minimum, he killed one of them. And plus, as we've seen, he nearly got the best of Horus in a fight, and he pretty much did get the best of Magnus in their fight. So, realistically, in terms of body count, I think Lehman Russ was the closest to having the biggest. If not, he does have the biggest. Because I'm trying to think of other Primarchs that have killed other Primarchs. I know we're kind of off topic here, just for this second.
Fulgrim has killed two.
Fulgrim killed two? Okay.
He killed Mana,
yes.
Technically, he killed Gilliman.
Okay, yes. Technically. I know that Dorn killed Alfarius Omegon, or one of...
Well, no, so from what I understand, that kill was supposed to go to Gilliman, but now there's a lot of speculation behind that, whether it was Alfarius, whether it was Omegon, or whether it was just an Alpha Legionnaire who had been kind of lifted up to impersonate them, which does happen because Alpha Legion.
Yeah, that's again, it's something I've seen pretty here and there. All right, let me try and get some of the chat involved here. So let me scroll. I'm gonna look for the ats, that way I can get through these at Erda did nothing wrong. Yeah, sure. Sorry, I'm trying to VVD. Okay, I need more for Sisters of Silence. Those girls can 1v1 in Astartes, along with read about the same height in some cases. Yeah, sorry, we already went over that. Jorge, and he asks me and says, Astartes are essentially a different species after the change. Interbreeding would be really tough to do. Not only tough to do, I don't think it's possible if my lore knowledge serves. I don't think it's possible really for them to breed with humans. Like
your lore knowledge serves. They
yeah,
can't.
their level of the thing is Ogrins can, even though they're considered transhuman, even though they're considered an evolved state of humanity in a sense from their planet. Ogrins can still breed with other humans because they're still human at the base. They're just physically slightly different due to their homeworld.
Can we please not put that image in my head?
I don't want to, but I'm just saying, technically speaking,
I don't want to, but I'm gonna still.
Ogrins can, even though they're considered transhuman. But I think at the end of the day, Astartes are just so fundamentally above humanity in their genetic superiority and how they're biologically programmed. I don't think it's possible. I can't remember if they were made sterile, period, or if it's just simply they aren't compatible with humans anymore. I think it might be both to an extent.
I'm pretty sure it's actually more the former and less the latter, because they're still technically human.
Yeah.
It's just their parts don't work.
Yeah.
It's the simplest way to it's just the simplest way to put it.
Yeah. Murderskin says, as Ace said in his video. Yeah, actually, Ace and I actually talked about his video. As he was uploading, in fact, he jumped into a voice chat with me and one other member of the Discord community. And he kind of just threw it out there. He's like, yeah, I made a video about this. I watched it right on the spot. 4 minutes and 40 seconds. And we chatted about that, and some of the same stuff I've said here, I said to him. Though I wish I had recorded what I said to him, because honestly, I think in my tired state, I ended up saying and phrasing everything so much more profoundly than I have phrased it here. But I definitely had a fun conversation with Ace right as he was uploading that video. It's a good video. Go check it out for everybody interested. It's 4 minutes 40 seconds, so it's pretty short. Sisters of Silence are genetically altered and augmented, but without the extra organs and gene seed changes. Sisters of Silence maybe are stronger and faster than Sisters of Battle. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure if that's canon or not.
I don't think it's that they're faster. I think it's because they're
definitely bigger. They're definitely bigger. That's because everyone's seen the artwork side by sides between them and Custodes, right? They're like, Custodes are like 8 feet tall, aren't they? 8 or 9 feet tall.
Probably. I know they're bigger than normal Astartes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Sisters of, and the thing is, in all the artwork I've seen, Sisters of Silence are up to their shoulder. Minus the hair plume. The hair plume probably puts them at the same height.
My only issue with that is if you look in the book Flight of the Eisenstein, it actually mentions that the Sisters of Silence there were not as big as the Death Guard.
Well, they're not as big. Like I said, they're up to a Custodes shoulder. I'm not sure what that would measure at.
But that would make them smaller than a baseline of Astartes. If I remember right, they were shorter than Nathaniel Guerra. Or at least, I think it's something where it's just a variation.
Yeah, it might be just a variation thing.
Which I'm cool with. You know, you can have Sisters of Silence that are 5 feet tall, you know, and they're fucking 9 feet tall, so...
Yeah,
I'm kind of cool with that. I'm not going to lie. That definitely makes it interesting.
Sisaba Hofecker, interesting name. Welcome to the stream. Agreed. Space Marines are basically living weapons. That's their identity. They are living weapons. Their gender is insignificant. But again, the Emperor wasn't a good guy. He's never been portrayed as that, so he wasn't a progressive guy either. So he always had it established that males only could be Astartes, which I think the loophole with that, with the Sisters of Battle and Sisters of Silence, is something a lot of people don't go, especially with this female Space Marine argument, they're so underappreciated. Like, nobody in the fandom has ever had a problem, as far as I'm aware, widely with Sisters of Battle. None have had a wide issue with Sisters of Silence because they're canonical and they fit in the lore. Nothing was completely thrown out the window or retcon to fit them in. They just fit in. And they weren't, and in many ways, I think that they are so cool, so interesting, and so fun in terms of design and lore that they've almost elevated above quite a few Astartes chapters that I can think of. Like, I love the Sisters of Battle a ton. And I don't, again, this push for female Space Marines, how interesting would a Space Marine with tits and a vagina be? They wouldn't. It would be an insignificant detail about them. It would be unimportant, and we already have something far more interesting and far more cool with the Sisters of Battle and the Sisters of Silence. And in both cases, they're not as genetically refined as the Astartes, yet they keep up with them. And that's something that's pretty admirable and fucking awesome about them. And yet nobody seems to acknowledge. And especially these so-called pro-women ideological advocates. They don't ever seem to acknowledge that they even exist in their arguments. They don't even talk about the Sisters of Silence or Sisters of Battle. Or if they do, they almost talk about them like they're not good enough. Which I think is just a giant... It's just basically this. It's just a giant fucking FU to both the fans who do love these girls, these ladies of badassery. I don't get it. I don't get this constant like obsession with female Space Marines. Is it because they're the fucking poster boys? I don't get it. I think
that is it.
And that's the thing. I think these people are just poster glarers. They're people who look at the posters and that's it. They're not fans. They say, "Oh, I looked at the advertisements for your Space Marines and it's a male-dominated sexist place." But they don't know anything about the lore. They don't know anything about the details. They don't know anything intrinsically about the universe. Or because if they did, they wouldn't make these dumbass arguments that are based on literally no sense of logic within the universe. And they're demanding the lore to be retconned for their ideological satisfaction. All I have to say to those people is go fuck yourself and stop being a fan of a franchise you're clearly not a fan of. You're a fan of politics. You're a fan of ideology. That's all you're a fan of. You're not a fan of 40K. You're not a lover of 40K. You're a political ideologue, and you need to go fuck yourself. This hobby is for people who actually give a shit about it. This hobby has been diverse. This hobby has been welcoming to women for a very long time, for decades. So you can go fuck yourself. That's all I have to say to those people.
Siege in the chat says, "I say write a book about the failed attempts at female Space Marines. Make it so horrific that by the end they won't go near it." Actually, to kind of play on that idea, I know how you can do that. Have Fabius Bile do it.
For Chaos?
Well, imagine him trying to make female Chaos Astartes, and it's Fabius fucking Bile.
Him and his pimp cane.
Like, there was literally a part of a book where he was torturing Fulgrim to orgasm.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Because they thought that Fulgrim wasn't the real Fulgrim, so him and a couple of others tortured the shit out of him, and all it did was get him off. Because Fulgrim and Slanesh.
Right. Alright, let me catch up with the chat a little bit here. I kind of scrolled up to try and read through some stuff, but I'll just jump to the bottom. Jorge says, Astartes are not sterile, in air quotes, but they have no reproductive urge and can torn off? I assume you meant to say turn off. And can turn off that part of the human anatomy to them. It is more a mental thing they can activate or not. Well, in terms of them
activating it.
Well, again, I don't think they're that. With that being the idea, though, they still can't procreate with humans, so it's kind of a null point anyway. If they could activate it.
Well, and also someone brought up a Space Wolf who apparently fucked half of Fenris. And when I say show me one example of it, show me one example that is canon friendly. Because if you just show me one Space Wolf who fucked half of Fenris, that's not lore friendly. That's just kind of like, hey, look, it's Space Wolf being the classic furry, just going like, ooh, and hump. That's not lore friendly. If you say something like, all of a sudden, Slanesh tempted a Space Wolf, an Ultramarine, anything like that, then yeah, okay, I could go along with that in the lore. But there's just really nothing like that.
Yeah, also, I want to welcome some of the people who just hopped into the chat. Well, they might not have just hopped in, but I just seeing their names. Sergeant Teddy Bear 59, Space Wolf Blackmane, Siege, the Nameless Scholar, Marlena, welcome. I've seen you on some previous ones, so welcome, Marlena. And Bill Dorr just hopped in. Welcome to all of you guys. Welcome. In honor of welcoming you guys, I'll read some of your comments. Sergeant Teddy Bear 59 says, at this point, I think men just need to have something that's ours.
I disagree.
I get what I think I get what he's trying to say with that comment. I get that. I think what he's trying to say is not like say women can't have the same things as us, but there should be some things that he thinks like that can be what's the word? Advertised. That can be advertised specifically for men. And there should be no problem with it. Like what's wrong with having like a more male centric hobby? I think is what I think that's the implication of that comment. And there's nothing wrong with that. Thing is, I have, in terms of 40K though, I have no problem with women in the hobby at all. In fact, I want more women in this hobby, but I want more women who actually want to be in the hobby, who actually want to be fans of this. Like I don't restrict by gender. I restrict by, do you actually give a shit or not? That's far more important to me. Do you actually care about the lore? Do you actually give a shit about the universe, the current existing rules and limitations on a biological level for things? Do you respect the pre-established, well, you could say establishment of what's there? It's fine to advocate changes, but they have to make sense, and they can't be for an ideological reason. Like, if you want to advocate, hey, we want more Sisters of Battle, you'll probably have the whole fucking fan base on your back. You say, oh, we want more Sisters of Silence. You have the whole fan base backing you, because, again, there's nothing, you're not fighting or pushing against the existing fan base. If anything, you're supporting the existence of fan base by advocating for more of what we want. But if you come into this hobby and you don't bother to look at the lore, you don't bother to look at the universe, you don't bother to actually give any kind of heart or dedication into what all of us spend probably way too much time dedicated to, then get the fuck out. I don't want you in here. And it's not because of your sex organs. It's not because of what hormone is running through your body the most. It's because you don't give a shit. You're not here to be a fan. You're not here to actually add to our community. You're here to take away from it, and you're here to be an asshole. And nobody wants you around because you're an asshole. You're an ideological asshole who nobody fucking wants. This is a hobby for people who want to get away from real world crap. It's a grim, dark universe where everything sucks. So the representation arguments are bullshit, because why would you want to be represented in a universe where you would probably be the first to fucking die? I'm just saying. The point being, these demands for trans Space Marines, these demands for female Space Marines are not coming from fans. And to go back to your comment about this should be something, at this point men should have something that's their own. Thing is, that's entirely up to you. You can create a group of friends who play 40K and it just be like a male group. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think if anyone has a problem with that, there's something wrong with you. It'd be nothing wrong like there's like a female group who get together and they're like, hey, we just want to play between us girls. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, you could do that individually in private groups, and that's perfectly fine. No one should have any right to tell you otherwise. I think that's perfectly fine. But do I think the hobby itself should only advertise to one demographic? I don't think so. I think it's perfectly fine, and I actually support it advertising to all demographics, as long as it's under the assumption that everybody they're advertising to understands what they're getting into. This is a grimdark universe where everything sucks. Representation is not a thing, nor should it be a focus at all in the lore, in the universe. It shouldn't be a thing. When they come into this hobby, the focus should be on the pre-existing stuff. And as it is, like I said before, it's pretty, in terms of how certain ideologues would consider diversity, it's pretty damn diverse. You got non-binary races and cultures like the orcs and a few other, the Tyranids in particular come to mind. You got, your standard male and female structured units like with the Astartes and Sisters of Battle, Sisters of Silence. Then you have a mixture of both, men and women, with the Astra Militarum, which again, if people were advocating for female models, as long as they had the same stats for like Astra Militarum, I'd be perfectly okay with that. It's an update to their fucking model line, so I'd be fucking ecstatic considering I'm an Astra Militarum player. Thank you very much. So I'd be super hyped for that kind of stuff. What I don't, again, to circle back to the thing, I don't like the ideologues that are popping up, so unsurprisingly on Twitter primarily. Like it's what I find the most frustrating. Sorry, I went on a long tangent with that one comment and kind of building off of it, but I understand what you're saying. But I think that's kind of more on you to create that male only group if you just want to have like a guys thing, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that there is certain, like, I think there's nothing wrong with creating a quote-unquote brotherhood of gamers and friends. As long as you're not a dick about it, as long as you're like, oh, men are better than women, fuck women. It's like, no, as long as you're just like, hey, we just kind of want to have our own thing. No offense to you, it's just our thing. We want to have our hobbies. We want to have our thing. That's perfectly on you. Again, just the whole hobby-wise, I see nothing wrong with, again, selling and, offering something to women in the hobby as well. That's perfectly fine. I want this hobby to meet a lot of those demographics. I just don't think it should change for those demographics. Like if those, I think that I kind of I'm about to repeat myself, so I won't keep going. But again, sorry, I went on a long one with that one.
You did.
Yeah, I can apologize for that.
So, Marlena brought up a point, and I kind of want to touch on this one from two different standpoints. Wouldn't the women turn into a half-man woman thing because the genes that come from a male Primarch?
Yes.
I don't think so. I think the female would just instantly reject it because you're trying to implant them with literal male DNA that would either A, transform them to male, or their body would just outright reject.
Yeah.
Now, assuming, let's play this hypothetical game that let's assume that female candidates could accept gene seed from, say, Rogel Dorn or Gilliman, because Gilliman is the closest thing to a female we're probably going to get as close to a Primarch. In fact, he's already basically one anyway. So, the problem is yes, you're exactly right. It would probably turn them something close to a male Space Marine with very feminine features at best. And a good example of this actually comes from the book Fulgrim, which is 30k, but a really good example of this. And we're going to take this from a different standpoint to instead of female Space Marines, what about Space Marines of different color? In Fulgrim. Now, everyone knows that that Fulgrim and the majority of the Emperor's children are very, very fair skinned. In Fulgrim, there is one that was black. I don't have an issue with this. I don't. And like, this is something I've been told. I'm like, you're a racist because you said that one Ultramarine who was black that they just used to sell a book was racist. Like, yeah, I think that's pretty fucked up that they did that. I think they did that just to sell that book. And
well, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Again, it's just as much as without people, coming in and spreading their ideology. It's also the company themselves wanting to change their own creation to satisfy their now ideology.
But do I have a problem with Black Ultramarine? No.
No.
Do I have a problem with Black Emperor's children? No. Do I have a problem with using the image of black individuals just to make sales? Absolutely.
Yes.
That's exploitation.
Because it's tokenism and it's exploitation. Absolutely. And the thing is, that's the thing. That's what would the female Space Marines would be also as well. That's another thing that I push into that advocate against them is the only reason to add them from the company's perspective would be to tokenize them. To say, oh, look at these badass female Space Marines, buy our minis. Like that's really what they're after. And I don't understand why people think it would be a good thing to just add it. Because again, to do it, you'd have to erase giant chunks of lore that have been there for decades. You would have to change the fundamental build of Astartes themselves on a genetic level, because so far as I'm aware, a lot of it's geared towards the male anatomy, and there are slight differences between male and female that would need to be taken into account, and you'd have to explain that. On top of that, you'd also end up devaluing the current female represented groups that have been there for years. The females that you don't seem to know about, the Sisters of Battle and Sisters of Silence. So there's really no positive here. It's just a negative for anybody who actually cares. I don't understand it.
I actually have a very funny thought to add to this. I'm actually looking because one of the later discussions we're hopefully going to get
We might get to it.
is our top 3 40K games and our bottom 1 40K game.
Yeah.
And right now, on my Steam library, I have Gladius Relics of War pulled up, and the picture of it is an Ultramarine with just standing there with a bolter. This is something I think that's actually a little fascinating. Let's just assume they have female space marines, just for the fucking sake of it. Well, the gene seed would obviously reduce their outward female qualities, reduce breast size, make them more muscular. You know, in Mark, what are they up to now? Mark 10, Mark 11 power armor?
Mark 10.
Praise be to you,
Mark 10?
mighty donator.
In Mark 10 power armor, they're going to look the exact fucking same. I'm sorry.
Somebody donated 1 second. I keep forgetting to pull up the Streamlabs dashboard because most people go with, donate through this the YouTube super chats. Sorry about that, guys. Bad me. I should have remembered to pull that up. 1 second. That way, I'm thinking it's Ginger Ninja. Usually he's the one who uses this.
I haven't seen him in the chat. Let me see if he's active on Discord right now.
Yep, it was Ginger Ninja. Donated 25 pounds per sterling. Called it. He didn't say anything, though. Damn. Well, welcome, Ginger Ninja, you wonderful, beautiful, gingered bastard. Welcome. Hopefully you're listening with quite a lot of glee. Now that we got... You okay?
No.
You got the COVID? You gonna die?
No, I have COPD. I told you that.
I know. I was. Never mind. Jokes can't make them. Damn it.
I'm not lucky enough to die. That's the thing you gotta. Take into.
How dare you? Meme Jeans 9, welcome. You've missed quite the extensive conversation. So let me scroll up a little bit here and try and get some of the chat's takes a little bit. Exa TV, Exa. I apologize if I butchered that. Exa TV. Hello, bird that just came by my window and then smacked it. What was that for? I think a bird just solicited me. It was like whoosh, whoosh, flew away. Sorry, squirrel. Unknown, the lore outright states every time they tried the procedure to females, they only said the subjects died in horrible agony, no mention of appearance change. Okay. So it doesn't even work with them. Mr. Brushface, orcs, Hrud? H-R-U-D. Hrud? Tyranids, Necron, all gender non-specific. Yeah. Eric Just. Question, do you think the various Xenos factions other than the Necrons will get an equal upgrade compared to the Necrons? Or will this edition also be Space Marine ×3 and maybe a single Xenos mini or two? I'd say, personally, because I don't know how much... I know you say you're not a fan of the tabletop or the minis, right?
I'm not, but I do keep up with it to an extent, so I fucking know that no.
No, they're really not... Because I do keep up with the minis. I am a huge fan of the tabletop. I got a fucking mural behind me. I got the Indominus box right there, which I just assembled all the primaries for so I could prime them. I wanted to do that last night, but it started raining. So, you know, I got like 3 different armories I'm collecting currently. I have over... I have an orcs... For my orc army, just to flex a little bit right now, just to take like a quick breather from what we were talking about. For my orc army, I have over 100 orc boys. I have 20 orc knobs, I believe. I have 5 killicans, would be 6, but one of them broke. So I have 5 killicans. I have 2 Death Dreads. I have 1 orc warboss, and I have an orc. As I said before, I have an orc stompa. So I have a very sizable orc army.
For as much shit as that game got, one of the things Dawn of War 3 did very well was the orc mech unit. The killicans and the oh shit, what's the bigger ones?
The Death Dreads.
Yeah, the Death Dreads.
The biggest ones are Stompas or Morkanauts or Gorkanauts. Gorkanauts.
I believe it had Morkanauts and Gorkanauts too, but they were hero units.
Yeah,
but
they would be.
But no, they did their mech. They did the orc mech army very well. When you play the orcs, you feel playing orcs, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I love orcs a lot. From a video game standpoint and from the tabletop, they're just a lot of fun. They're a little bit RNG at ranged, though. Melee, they fucking beat your ass. But they gotta get in that range.
And that's one thing that was really cool about Dawn of War 3. I think they only had like 2 ranged units, so it made them really feel very orky.
Yeah.
and it's just so fun. The orcs are the good boys.
Orcs be good boys. Yeah, but the only army I think is bigger than them for my collection is I have 124 Cadian infantry. I have 1 Cadian command squad, 2 commissars, and 2 Lehman Russ tanks, and 2 sentinels, which are pretty much 40k ATSTs. There's like really no major difference. So yeah, those are my 2 biggest armies. I collect 2 horde armies. I know, genius. And I have a bunch of unassembled Necrons. I think I have almost 100 Necrons to assemble. And I have just about 82, 83, 84, somewhere in there, Primaris Space Marines, which will be Black Templar. So I collect this shit quite a bit.
I will say, if I ever get into the miniatures, I think my main 2 armies will probably be Death Guard and Thousand Sun.
Yeah, there's a codex for Thousand Suns specifically too.
And don't make me hate myself more.
Yeah,
and honestly, I don't ever see me get into the miniatures for anything outside of collection.
Well, that's what it's become more, especially during the time of COVID, since a lot of people can't get together and play the game. So, for most people like myself, they're more like just big painting projects until all this nightmare kind of just settles down and people can start playing together again. But till then, it's still fun to watch some other people do battle reports that still do those during this time, like Play on Tabletop. They are the best battle reports, but that's free shilling aside.
But I mean, even outside of that, it's just something I'm not really interested in. I'm really not interested in the miniatures. It's just like, if I do it for the collection, I'll probably have like a Magna, Karn the Betrayer, shit like this. The characters that I like.
Yeah. So back on topic with the female Space Marines. Calcul asks, he says another, but I think he meant to say another. Another question why they should do this is the economic question. Would making female Space Marine models or books and the such earn them more money? No, is the obvious answer. It wouldn't. Because the thing is, again, it comes back to the thing. The people who are advocating for this are not people who buy models. They're not people who buy the current shit. They're not. You can't. These people spend so much time on Twitter fucking bitching and moaning about how they want female Space Marines. You could just like calculate the amount of time they spend on that versus probably how much they're spending on painting minis. They're not actually collecting minis. They're not actually buying miniatures. They're not actually buying codexes. They're not actually buying any of this shit. They're not even probably getting the video games. These people know nothing. And I say they know less than nothing. They look at the posters, they look at the advertisements, and that's it. That's the most they know about this franchise. Is like a single glance and maybe a Google search. If the more researched of these ideologues at least does a Google search. Not a long one, like a single search sees how long a Wikipedia entry is and just goes, oh, never mind. I'll make an assumption based on what little I know. Yes, I did choose Black Templar's Melina. More or less, it was chosen for me. I was kind of torn. I built the army initially for fists, but it makes sense to do Templars since I love Templars more anyway. I'm not a fan of Primaris, but I have like a excuse for like I'm just saying that Black Templars are wearing stilts and killed the actual Primaris and took their armor.
And that's Marlene, it's not that I dread buying and painting large armies. It's just I have no time. I also have my own YouTube channel where I put about 20 to 40 hours on average a week into it. I have a job where I work 25 to 35 hours a week. And I have a 2-year-old. So as far as time goes, got none of that. and then also I just don't have the money to sink into it either. So
Yes,
it's just
that's the
something
big
like,
one. That's the big
so,
one. You,
so it's like
it's
if I did it, it would just be like, hey, one here, I'll do it, and then put it up on a shelf, and you'll see it behind me, and that might be it. But even then, I'm not really that into it.
yeah.
But it's one of those things where I used to do model cars when I was younger. So I guess it's one of those things where I just kind of got it out of my system when I was young, so I have no interest
Yeah,
in it.
I did model stuff with my dad when I was younger, but
Yeah.
I didn't think I really got into it until I became an adult. Like when I became an adult, this is when most of this stuff wore off. I became a fan of 40K in high school, but it was the lore. I didn't start collecting the minis until just about 4 years ago now. 3 or 4 years ago is when I actually started collecting them. And my first army was Astra Militarum. Loved them a lot. Then I dedicated some more time to researching the lore of the orcs. Started collecting an orc army. Those became the two armies I collected the most over the last couple of years. The Primaris Space Marines, I only had a single pack of intercessors because I just wanted to see what they looked like for myself. I bought those like early on when they were first being sold, and I haven't gotten any new. And then the rest of the, other than the Indominus box, which was a purchase, but that was you'll have to watch my unboxing video. I explain how I got that for only $100, so it was more or less just a discount. But the all the other Primaris and Necron stuff that I've got was for my 21st birthday. That's like the last birthday in my family that we celebrate. And apparently my mother went around and told everybody, listen, though the tradition in our Scottish and Irish family is to buy a shit ton of booze that the person will never drink through for their birthday, instead, she got my whole family to skip the tradition and just buy me instead 40K minis. And I thought nobody was going to do it because half my family's not. Half my family would probably just go for like the path of least resistance, which is it's easier to go to a liquor store than it is to order GW products, which are far more expensive. But I was surprised because a ton of my family just bought a ton of, like, seriously, I could grab the boxes right now and show you, but they bought so much of this stuff. Collectively, my family spent over $1,000. I'm pretty sure, collectively. And I don't want to do the number crunch, and I'm so grateful. But I am aware that this is the last birthday they celebrate, so I will not be getting any more gifts for the rest of from my actual family for the rest of my life. So, yeah,
And I will say, just to kind of steer away from the female space marines, because I think we've beaten that dead horse pretty damn
yeah.
hard.
We might answer some individual like comments about it as we go, but I think we're ready to move on to the other stuff. But
Well,
yeah,
I did have a quick point along the lines of what along those lines. Like I was going to jump on the Primaris thing really quickly. I understand a lot of people have problems with the Primaris.
Oh yeah.
My only problem is their resistance to corruption. But with the way they implemented them into the lore, if they would take that out, I would actually be okay with it. Them being bigger and faster than regular Space
See you,
Marines.
Moraine. Thank you for joining.
Yep, see my right.
Yeah.
They explain it very well. All they do is implement 3 additional organs. They explain what the organs do, and they actually make a good case for it. So if you just take away the resistance to corruption, I could actually kind of get behind it.
For me, it's not just the like. I get where you're coming from. I don't have a huge problem with the aesthetic. I actually like the aesthetic for the most part. The only problem I've had is the pauldrons. I like the traditional Space Marines have like really big pauldrons that like pop out more. It makes the suit feel big. With pauldrons that are more uniform, it looks like the suit's tighter to the body. It feels like it's less pronounced. So for me, it's a lot less impressive. So I don't like the reduced pauldron size. That's just a stylistic choice. But for lore, I dislike a lot of the lore. The stories that they've written around Primaris, for example, I don't like majority of that stuff. I really don't. I'm not a major fan of the Primaris lore changes.
I mean, no. So now again, this is also that like me and you have talked about before. I think they were implemented very badly.
Yes.
I think, yeah. I think if it was something that they worked on over the course of 10,000 years, it wasn't just one person working on them, and it was more trial by error trial and error, and that they just end up coming up with the 3 organs that just overall made Space Marines bigger, stronger, faster.
Praise be to you,
That
mighty
would,
God.
Oh, hold up. Super chat. I know. Sorry. This is a $20 super chat. Thank you. Super big thanks to Space Wolf Blackman for the $20 super chat. Hate to interrupt. Space Marines are made from young boys or teens. The age range is 10. The starting age for like the genetic manipulations and basically the application of the gene seed starts at the age of 10 at the earliest, and at the oldest, I believe it's like 13.
8 to 12.
8 to 12. I'm pretty sure that sounds off. Hold on.
At least every time I've looked it up, that's what I've always seen. Is the youngest they recruit is at 8, oldest is at 12.
Hold up. There's like an actual layout of this.
And
10 to 14 is the starting. 10 to 14.
Because I know they were. Because maybe it's just they start the indoctrination at 8. Because I know
they might start the indoctrination at 8, but the genetic side of things starts at 10 at least. So young boys or teens literally torn apart, reassembled into living weapons with no hope for future aside for a violent death. Turning girls into that sometimes by force seems just wrong. Well, the thing is, I get where you're coming from like a moral standpoint, but this is a grimdark fictional universe, so
there are no morals.
There are no morals. Like, the thing is, if you look at the Drukhari, if you look at the shit that they do in their lore, they do worse to men and women than just tearing you apart and reassembling you. They do that plus some, and they do it to both men and women. So that's one of those things that happens in this lore all the time. Is there's really nobody who's protected. Women aren't protected, men aren't protected, children aren't even really protected. Everybody gets a shitty end one way or another in 40k. That's always been the theme with a grimdark. So I get where you're coming from, but technically, if you have a problem with that, you should have a problem with a good chunk of the lore. Because a good chunk of the lore is about far worse, happening to women, children, men. All 3 major groups suffer the worst possible fates you could imagine. Being captured by a Drukhari, whether you're any of those 3, is god-awful. They will fillet your skin off and wear it as a fucking cape. They will have sex with the fleshless corpse that's left over. The Drukhari, if I went into extreme detail about the horrible, evil crap that they do... It's not. You kidding me? Turning girls.
You said something wrong.
Yeah.
You did say one thing wrong. It would not be a corpse. They would keep the person alive just with that skin.
Oh yeah, just with that skin. They would do that, and they would rape your family in front of you while they fillet your skin off. This is the Drukhari, and they would do it to men, women, and children. There's literally no. They don't discriminate. As long as it feeds Slanesh, they'll do it. So if the idea of a Space Marine's body being torn apart and reassembled bothers you, that's a far better fate than most get in this universe. So I get where you're coming from. You're like a man, you're like, oh, women should be protected, but this is the wrong universe to have that feeling for. Because it's already far worse going on. But thank you for the super chat, but I get where you're coming from. But it doesn't change the fact that in the lore, in the universe, already far worse than having your body torn apart and reassembled happens. Far worse already happens. And to all groups, so at least there's no discrimination. Their lore is absolute dog shit. Yeah, the Primaris, in my opinion, is pretty dog shit. Especially the stories they try and write around them. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, every opportunity they could take to make the Primaris look more favorable to the community, they kind of butcher it a little bit. It's like, yeah, I get what you're trying to do. Give up. I'm not going to be a fan of these guys.
And again, this goes back to what I was saying. If they would have made it where they just implemented the 3 organs over the course of 10, 11 millennia, I would have been okay with that. I really would have.
The 2 parts that I think that bother me the most, though, from the lore with the Primaris is the weird chapter acceptance. Do you know how many chapters are fucking, as it is, not codex compliant? So I call utter bullshit. I call utter bullshit on the idea that 97% of all Astartes just accepted them.
And that's the thing, I think, where if you do it where they were...
See you later, Justin Oreo. Have a good night, man. Or good day.
I think if they would have worked on the Primaris openly, and again, over the course of the 10-11 millennia, then that would have... It would have made it easier for some chapters to accept them. I still think there are some, like, for instance, Black Templar, who just wouldn't.
Yeah, they just wouldn't.
At best, they'd be like, oh, new armor. What's inside the armor? Oh, target practice. Hey, take off that armor real quick. I'm going to shoot you.
I don't want to damage my new armor.
Yeah. Well, hold on, man. Let me correct that. I'm not going to shoot. I want you to stand over there. I'm going to hit you really hard. And we're going to test out how many hits it takes to get to the center of the lollipop.
Yeah, I don't see the Templars accepting them at all. Like, and this is where GW fucked it up so badly, because it almost feels like they don't understand their own existing lore when they made these Primaris moves. Like, oh, just every chapter seemingly accepted them, minus a couple. And then the chapters they listed weren't the first chapters that came to my mind did not accept them. I can think of way more, like the Black Templars. I can't see them accepting them ever. First of all, they were not created by the Emperor. They were created by Call, so they would immediately see them as heretical beings. They would see them as a heretical manifestation of some Admech priest, and they would fucking kill them. They would see them as a legitimate heresy. I would see them actually going civil war on the Imperium over it. I see that happening. So the fact that they didn't at least take the opportunity to write some new grimdark stories with the Black Templars going fucking rogue because of this shit is such a wasted opportunity. Because that could have been filled with so many grimdark goodness.
There's only one chapter. Well, excuse me, there's only 2 chapters I could see accepting the Primaris unquestioningly.
Ultramarines?
Ultramarines and Iron Hands. I mean, I see Blood Angels taking issue with it. I see Imperial Fist taking issue with it. I see Dark Angels taking issue with it. Space Wolves, I don't see ever accepting it. I mean, it's just like, if you're gonna do it, at least, like you said, at least make it believable. Like Iron Hands would probably just like, oh, you got it. Ooh, we're going to take the Primaris and rub the ointment on them and protect them. Iron Hands are a weird fucking bunch.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, don't get me wrong. They're cool. I like them.
They'd be weird. Well, let's take some intake from the chat before it pops off. Syl says, at least in Dante, they could join the trials to be chosen by the Blood Angels around 10. And there was something about that any post-teen would be too old to join. Yeah. Well, that's against all chapters, I'm pretty sure. Once you're a certain age, you can't go through the trials for any chapter. Because they need to indoctrinate you early. It's the same concept of like the Jedi, pretty much. It's like, we need them young to the point where we can brainwash them. Like, we can't afford to indoctrinate adults. They've already got experience really and worldviews. Oros Osium, welcome to this podcast. In Warhammer, there is no protection. There is various form of death and just as many ways of killing. Correct. Korn says, to be fair, for the girly man, it's not very grimdark. He won the Horus Heresy while Horus and Big E lost. He got his own private supermarines infiltrating the other legions and so much more. Yeah. True. And the thing is, if they write it like that and they get rid of the incorruptible bit, I would have no problem with it because it would make more sense. And again, write in the backlash. I do not believe for a second that 97% of Space Marines just accepted them. I do not believe that. Like the universe is the argument that the universe is in dire straits. They can't afford to be picky. The universe is constantly on the brink of apocalypse. That has never stopped them from being discriminatory before. Like they would rather die than accept. Black Templar speaking anyway would rather die, all of them, be completely wiped out than accept Primaris, because they would not see them as anything more than heresy unless they were lied to, and if they were lied to and told that these were designed by the Emperor, then the backlash for that lie being uncovered needs to be there.
So, for those who don't know, I prefer 30k lore over 40k just because I believe that it's written better and nothing's really going to change my mind on that one. But if they really want to get me into 40k, have Gilliman turn traitor. Because he already basically is.
That would be interesting, at least, and my hate for him would be more justified.
But think about this. So here's a really cool way of doing it. The Ultramarines and all their successors turn traitor. That would be about on the scale of the Horus Heresy. It would be toned down a bit. But for what the current numbers are, that would be on scale for a smaller Horus Heresy. And just have all the Loyalists v Ultramarines. Because that would about be even, unfortunately. And that would be so cool.
Yeah, I agree.
It would be so cool for Gilliman to be like, oh yeah, you know this whole chapter thing and the whole Codex start. Yeah, it was my plan to weaken you for the long run. I'm here just to fuck you right in the ass.
That would be interesting, and I would actually like that outcome. And again, I like to hate Gilliman as it is. One thing, actually, I got an email about this, believe it or not. I got someone sent me a fucking email. I deleted it, unfortunately. I wish I had screenshotted it. But now that we're talking about it, I got an email from somebody in response to like the Why I Hate Gulliman video. It's pretty interesting. Now, granted, since I deleted it, I can't pull it up and quote it word for word, so sorry if I butcher it. I might get an email from the same guy saying, yeah, you didn't quote me exactly. It's like, yeah, I deleted your fucking email. But someone sent me a goddamn email, like, just a fucking essay on, like, why I'm wrong for hating Gulliman and why I'm not a real fan of 40k because I hate Gulliman. Like, that shit. And I'm like, you're a fucking idiot, dude.
Now, you know, we were just giving shit to the people who were, you know, who know nothing about the lore and are trying to push for the female space marines. I'll say this. People like that right there that say, you know nothing about the lore, that arrogant bullshit, that shit needs to stop too, because that's just as bad, but from the opposite direction.
Yeah, it's... I agree on that front. But it was funny to read his email, because the guy, like, hated me. Like, I mean, like, the cussing and the misspelling. Like, I could tell this guy was just slamming his head against the keyboard while he was fucking writing this. But to answer, like, that issue, I guess you could say, that whatever you call it, that controversy of what I said, let me put it frank. I didn't vocalize this clearly. I hate Gulliman, but I would not have his character changed at all. I would not fucking have his character change at all. Because I love to hate him. I love to hate his character. He's designed to be hated. My problem is when GW tries to act like he's meant to be the hero. It's like, no, he was written to be hated. Why are you trying to write him now like I'm not supposed to hate his ass? Go fuck yourself.
I will say this, as far as like a personality change for Gilliman,
Hey, Aussie95, welcome.
The best way to like make it that like secondary civil war is where Gilliman really believed, like Horus believed, like everything he was doing was the right thing for the Imperium. Horus believed that the Emperor was weak and he was just stringing along the Primarch. So make it to where, you know, Gilliman believes he's doing what really is best, but he's just misguided.
Yeah.
And that would be really... I don't think it'll fucking happen, but you know, hey. Like I said, if you want to get me into the newer lore, into the 40k lore, that would be the way to do it. Until then, most likely I'm just going to stick to 30K because I mean,
30K is more interesting, to be fair.
Well, where else are you going to hear about a fucking space marine fighting in vacuum without a helmet against a what was it? It wasn't a greater demon of Nurgle. It was I want to think it was one of the first Plague Marine. Just fighting hand to hand in vacuum. Where else are you going to hear that shit?
With a Plague Marine. That would be interesting.
Nathaniel Garrow, one of his command squad ended up getting corrupted by Nurgle and becoming the Lord of Flies on the prison on Luna. And they ended up fighting through the entire fucking prison because of course they did. And by the way, this was a prison that was policed by the Sisters of Silence. So let's talk about 1v1 for a second. You have a Death Guard captain and a Nurgle champion, question mark, at this point, who literally fight their way out an airlock. And Nathaniel Garrow is not wearing a helmet. And they're just fighting in fucking vacuum hand to hand.
Can I just say, I kind of picture, you know Family Guy, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what. No, that's
I'm thinking about Peter versus the chicken.
That's what it was. Yes.
That's kind of how I picture it. Like, just destroying everything in their path. Fucking.
But I mean, like, where do you hear shit like that in new 40K? And it makes
not
me
really.
sad.
Yeah, new 40K has a lot less fun. I think that's a major issue. It has a lot less fun
because that's some over the top shit, and I love it. And that's what I love about 30K is because you also have the over-the-top bullshit. Like, Horus. Horus, when he was on Davin, before he gets corrupted, as you know, a fucking battleship just collapsed in on him. I mean, yeah, it scratches him a little. You know, having, him being in the battleship when it fucking collapses only wounds him slightly. And then he goes on to fight, oh, fuck. I can't think of his name. But he fights the captain who he left in charge, or the Imperial, basically the guy left to be governor over Davin. And he fights him, and that's when he gets stabbed with the Anathame blade. But the battleship fucking collapses on me. He's just like, nah, I'm good, guys. I'm good. It's just a scratch.
Like, I got this, guys. There was nothing.
I'm going to look up that name because it's bothering the fuck out of me now.
Alright, I'll read a comment or two. Kakio, I can send something like that for the Tau. Lost context for that. Space Wolf Blackman, thank you for the super chat, man. Thank you. My early comment was short YouTube limit, but I love the universe and most of the lore. But out of universe diversity quota, not realizing what it would mean, inevitably...
Praise be to you, mighty donator.
The alert's always a little late. Inevitably led to outcry of women abuse. Wait, what? Let me read that again. My early comment was short, YouTube limit, but I love the universe and most of the lore, but out of universe diversity... But out of universe to... Okay, so...
It's like, people asking for this, I wouldn't realize that having, like, female space marines, wouldn't realize, like, the kind of abuse they would put little girls through just to become space marines. By the way, it's Eugene Timba.
Okay.
That was bothering the fuck out of me for some reason.
Don't let it bother you, man.
I couldn't remember his name, and it was just like, what is his name?
Welcome, Matt Dudley. As soon as GW took out the fun orc lore, we were doomed. Yeah, we need more. We need more orc funness.
we need more shit like battleships collapsing in on people. We need more.
We need more over the top shit. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's what it is. We need more over the top shit.
Yeah, we really need more over the top shit.
And when I say over the top shit, this is where I think there is a fine line to be drawn. We don't need them to do something like let's say they come up with a new space marine because of fucking course, who can like survive in vacuum. They don't need shit like that. They need like just have a regular space marine fighting in fucking vacuum. That's cool. like when you have one that like can secrete this mucus or some shit that makes him environmentally sealed. It just takes all the fun. Hey, they can eat fucking rocks, which makes room for so many jokes. But I mean, like when just make it a normal space marine who can do who does do stupid shit that they shouldn't be able to do. It makes it fun. It makes it exciting.
Yeah.
Or like Karn. Karn has died like 2 or 3 times in 10,000 years. He's still fucking going. I mean,
yeah, Catherine Quirk and Merlin are like, whoa, yeah. Got my orc support. Daka.
by the
I
way,
gotta do a video on orcs soon. I gotta do a video on them. I already did a lore video on them, but I gotta do like a Asmo Talks 40k on them. That might be next video.
When I say Karn has died twice, one of those times he was fucking impaled. He was fighting Garviel Loken and got impaled by, I believe, a land raider.
Yeah, that's when you gotta pull out the joke. Is your name Vlad? Why? Because you're the Impaler. That was a lame joke. Yes, it was, but it worked.
And then he died at the Siege of Terra. And then he heard fighting happening, and then got better. And just got back up like, okay, I'm good. I'm gonna go back to fighting. Like this is like the ultimate and over the top news, and he is my favorite character in 40k because of it. And I love Karn. Karn is so cool. He is very cool from a character perspective, but he's also cool from an over the top perspective. Are you getting up there or not? Are you gonna jump up there?
You kitty?
Yeah, Kitty's on the arm of the chair. She's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna jump up. Now I'm gonna get under your arm.
Ladies and gentlemen, the cat of the stream.
The cat of the stream, yes.
So let's get you chat a little bit. Let me hop up here. Okay. Alright, as soon as... Okay, so yeah, I already read that. An email containing a document explaining why you are wrong on the Tau question. Oh, you're gonna send me an email? Okay. Go ahead. I'll probably delete it too. I'm like, oh, who's this from? Ah, kill. Delete. You and your Tau lovingness. Obviously, jokes aside, it's okay if you like Tau. I don't. They're my least favorite faction. Well, sub-faction wise, my least favorite faction is Ultramarines, but Tau are next. Right next to
I
it.
don't know who my least favorite faction would be.
Didn't you say Space Wolves?
So I wouldn't really consider them a faction, because I would lump all the starters together.
Okay.
So by faction, you know, you're looking at like Astartes, IG, Sisters of Battle, Orcs, Eldar, Dark. I think actually out of all of my least favorite would probably be Eldar now that I think about it.
Just Craftworld or Drakari?
Craftworld.
Okay.
Because out
that.
of everyone who has fucked up every step of the way, Eldar have literally fucked up every step of the way.
They fucked up so they literally fucked up so badly. They created a fucking 4th chaos god.
Well, no. So in order to stop the Horus heresy, they went to Fulgrim after he was corrupted. They went to, I believe, Alfarius, and like all they did was really give him ammunition. Every time they try and meet with diplomacy on their minds, they're like, "Hey, let's kill their retinue first, and then we'll be like, oh, hey, we want to talk." They just fuck up every step of the way, and it's just like they don't even do it in a funny way anymore.
No, they really don't. That's the thing. I would love for the fun of 40k to be brought in instead of the political ideology stuff. Like that's the thing. For some reason, they're like, hey, instead of making this more appealing to literally everybody, but just making it fun, let's drag in politics so we can look morally right on issues we have nothing to do with.
You know, I wouldn't even get upset by this. And I know this would piss a lot of people off, but I would not get upset with this. I would just laugh like a lunatic. Have like an orc knob or an orc war balls. take down I want to think a Warhound is the smallest one, but a Warhound Titan. If I'm remembering this,
That would
I
be
think
fun.
Warhounds are the smallest. That would be hilarious.
Just like does like the fucking like a fucking Jedi leap and just like slices through the fucking front. Whoa! Just
Like
well, bam!
I would love the fuck out
Woo!
of that. And also you cannot deny that is orky as hell.
That would be again with the orcs. They have so much room to make such entertaining stories and content while still giving it a grimdark flair. And I don't know why they don't. Like it's weird. I don't know why.
Or like if this were like a video, it just like pans to the cockpit of the Warhound. It's like, what is that? Zooming in real quick, and you just like see like this like little dot get bigger and bigger, and then the war boss just crashes right into the cockpit.
That'd be beautiful.
That would be absolutely wonderful. That would be just so amazing.
That would be fucking awesome. All right. Fincard says this to both of us. Never forget they tried to contact the Emperor by invading the Imperial Palace and fighting the Custodes during the Beast Arises.
Yeah. We're going to invade first. Yeah, that's why I really hate the Dark. Or the fucking the Aldari.
Yeah.
Now the thing is, as much as I hate the Aldari, I actually kind of like the Drukhari. The Drukhari, I can kind of get behind. You know, they just got so butt fucked by Slanesh. They're like,
they got so butt fucked. Now they're doing the butt fucking.
Yeah, they're like, but okay. So what we've got to do is do exactly what Slanesh wants to beat Slanesh, so we stay alive. Like I can kind of get behind that, and they're really good at it too.
Oh yeah.
So it's like so that I can kind of get behind to an extent. It's like they're written well sometimes.
Excuse me.
But they fill that role very nicely. And that's something I can get behind.
Yeah, I'd definitely be down to see, again, they have such a fucking mountain full of awesomeness that could do with the orcs. I would love to see them do something with Drukhari. More like Eldar in general. Really just Xenos. Kind of think of it, just Xenos. Like they're this obsession with sucking the cock of the Space Marines in every goddamn edition is really getting old.
I got one better. Because you just said Xenos, I got one for the orcs and the Tyranid. A war boss taming and riding a fucking Biotitan. Could you not see the chaos that would ensue?
Oh, it'd be beautiful.
It would be beautiful. Like he just rides a fucking Biotitan up against like a fucking Imperator class or a War Titan, and it's just like, what is that on top of that Tyranid? It's a war. What? It's a war boss. What the fuck?
I can see like a Gretchen holding on to the tail, being like, "Yahoo!"
But no, because that's the one that fell off. But there's like 50 to 100 Gretchen on top of the motherfucker, just like with different gun turrets, just bolted into the Biotitan.
Just like.
Yeah, but that would be hilarious.
Hey GW, hire us. We'll come up with stories that'll get more people to buy your shit.
Pretty much, but it'll be almost exclusively for a war.
10th edition confirmed. All orcs, all orc.
Oh man, God. that would be absolutely beautiful.
The beauty that would be fucking beautiful. Oh fuck. All right, let's lead. Catherine says if they made a runt into a boss and made him lead the greatest wog of all time, that would be great. I would love to see a fucking Gretchen lead the fucking orc. Like there'd be a Gretchen or like war boss. It wouldn't happen, but it would be fucking beautiful to see something like that.
Well, here's the thing about that. They've already done something very similar in fantasy, though.
In fantasy? Really?
Yeah. Oh, what the fuck is that name? Hold on. Let me go to the store page for Total War Warhammer. Because he's one of the legendary leaders. I can't think of his fucking name. It is... question mark? Someone's gonna put it in the chat while I'm not looking. I can almost guarantee it.
Possibly. So is it a banner of the sovereignty or Warborn or something else? What?
They're asking about the Skarsnik. Was it Skarsnik? They're asking about the banner that you have.
Oh, that's for the Warborn from my Grimdark. That's their banner.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Skarsnik because 2 people put it in there. I'm just trying to find to make sure.
Yeah. Hold on.
Because he's a goblin who ended up essentially being his own war boss. And I'm almost positive that Skarsnik is what it is.
Snarksnick.
Skarsnik, not
Skarsnik. Oh, okay.
Skarsnik. And I want to think it's the Warhammer 1, but I can't fucking find it. It's pissing me off.
Actually, fun fact, I have 2 other banners to show if people are curious. Let's see.
Fantasy has both Skarsnik and Grom the Paunch. Both are gobos. Yes, but Grom the Paunch is big enough to be a fucking orc.
There.
Yeah, it is Skarsnik. Yeah, that's how I remember him. The goblin with the pet squig.
Okay.
He's so adorable.
Yeah, I get it. Fantasy has both Skarsnik and Grom. The Paunch, they are both gobos.
Yeah. But again, I don't really include Grom the Paunch only because he's big enough to be a fucking orc.
Okay. Yeah, this other banner you guys are seeing right now, that's for the Terran Republic. That's the other human faction, one of the 3. And I think most people have already seen this next one, at least on the Discord community. And that's the Sovereignty, the Crypto Sovereignty, for my Grimdark. That's their banner. On all 3 of my monitors, I have the 3 banners of the human races in my Grimdark up. But I'm not gonna take control of the stream again, so just show those off. Anyway, Asgard, what about Grom the Paunch? Is that also Warhammer Fantasy?
Yeah, that's the one we were talking about. That's the fat goblin.
That's the fat goblin. Okay.
Yeah, that's essentially the same size as a fucking orc.
Prior info for everybody to know, I'm not well versed on Warhammer Fantasy or Age of Sigmar at all. I'm very poorly versed on that stuff. So 40k is really where I find my strength. I probably should do some videos and stuff or some research into Age of Sigmar and Warhammer Fantasy. I just personally, it's probably like out of the 2 major GW products I just don't get into.
Lings versus Gretch.
Gonna do a lurk. Lunch break is over. That's fine, Matt Dudley. That's just fine. The fat goblin with a hype man niblet.
I will say nothing beats Skaven. Skaven are the cutest and the fluffiest.
Oh yeah. Speaking of, that kind of reminded me. Me and my artist got to do so many redesigns of stuff. Because we were, some things are getting redesigned anyway. The Helsing armor, the armor I've showed off before will still be canon. It's just not for all Helsings. It's going to be a mixture of things.
Right.
I'll talk to you about some of that after the stream. There's some stuff there I want to talk about. But anyway, Fantasy has both. Okay, sorry, I read that. Okay, so how dare you backstab me?
I did a recording of my Clan Pestilence playthrough, and I set up a firing line with Warplock Jeziles, and behind them were Poison Wind Mortars, and to the side were Rattling Guns. And I was fighting Dark Elves on a hill, and I just butchered them. I butchered the fuck out of them. It was glorious.
Glorious. Awesome.
Actually, Oros, Osium, it's funny you say that. The one I really don't use that much of is the warp fire throwers. I just don't like it, and I know why, but I don't like their short ass range. It's almost they're very bad at what they do unless they're on a wall. So it's just kind of like, I'll use the warp like Jezels, which can almost one shot.
Oh my god. Alright. So, we've been going for an hour and a half.
For an hour and a half, and we haven't even gotten to either one of our stories or the main 40 days.
Yeah, we really haven't. We can zip through these.
Yeah.
So first one, we'll do this one. The Xbox Series X backwards compatibility makes your favorite games even better. You told me that this gives them another edge on Sony. Because I already thought buying all of fucking Bethesda and ZeniMax was already kind of, OP.
Okay, in my eyes, it gives them an edge.
Okay.
So here's why, and I've read through the article, so I'm just going to TLDR it.
All right.
And essentially, so PlayStation 5, right now, the backwards compatibility they're looking at is like PlayStation 4. Xbox Series X backwards compatibility is going all the way back, and already they have 1,000 backwards compatible games, which, granted, is kind of like a drop in the ocean when you consider Xbox One, 360, and original Xbox. But they're going all the way back, and that's just right now. They're only up to 1,000. They're planning on doing more. And something they mentioned on this with the new system is the guy who wrote the article, or the lady, the person who wrote the article, because I really don't know who the fuck it is.
Vic Hood.
They were doing like loading times, comparing an Xbox One S to the Xbox Series X. And for one game that I actually enjoy playing is Fable Anniversary. On the One S, it took 32.97 seconds. And on the Series X, it took 21.62 seconds. So due to the better programming, it's just drastically cutting down on load times. It's making the games run better. I mean, now, again, in the case of Fable, they mentioned this, that it's, the graphics still stand. It still looks like an old game, but it runs much better. There are much less frame drops than on the Xbox One.
Yeah, I do agree that this is an edge. I'm not sure if I would say it's like a big edge over Sony. Certainly comparatively to Bethesda and ZeniMax being brought under their umbrella. I'd say though that this does help because with the backwards compatibility and all the games being brought to this console, it increases the value of this console immediately. Because now there's already a bunch of games that are viable for it.
To put it in a little bit of a different light, the reason why I think this gives them a massive edge is because with more people buying digital games now, when you keep your Xbox account linked, so for instance, if you have, in my case, I have quite a few original Xbox and Xbox 360 games digitally downloaded. Key among those is something like the Mass Effect series. So, with that, I will still, if it's backwards compatible, which I'm pretty sure it is, I will still be able to play it just getting a Series X and loading my account onto it.
Yeah, that does give them an edge. It's probably fairly though. This news is probably going to get overshadowed though, or has been overshadowed though, I would say. But yeah, it'd be interesting to play like Fable and shit on the new Xbox X. I'm not getting an Xbox. I play on PC, but if you're an Xbox or console player. This does give it an edge for sure.
I think the only reason I would is just to keep up the Xbox games that I do have that don't have on PC. But I have the Xbox One X, so I mean I'm doing fine with it. I don't care either way.
Okay. Calcio just said, "Wait, are you saying that the new Xbox has backwards compatibility with the previous Xbox systems? Unzips pants and pulls out wallet."
Mm-hmm.
You keep your wallet. No, I'm not gonna follow that line of joking. No.
And also, from what I understand, it's also supposed to be, I believe, $100 cheaper than the PlayStation 5, whatever the fuck it is. Because if I remember right, PlayStation 5 was supposed to be like $600, and the Series X is supposed to be $500.
Right. Oh, look what looks. I know we haven't prepared this one, but I just looked to the side and I like some other articles. Their number one right now is World of Warcraft Shadowlands will begin a more LGBTQ plus inclusive future for the game. Because that's what's been wrong with World of Warcraft. Not the leveling system, not the graphics, not the story. No. It was the lack of inclusion.
I had a minor stroke. What? Because they also have a trans character they're bringing into Shadowlands. I know about that.
World of Warcraft Shadowlands will begin a more LGBTQ plus inclusive future for the game.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah.
Because that's the problem they need to fix.
Let it fucking burn out and die.
It'll die. I haven't played World of Warcraft in forever. Well, anyway, so that's it for that article. Interesting. At this point, you need to nuke inclusivity from orbit. I wish we could. That would be so helpful.
There's sometimes when there are things that could be more inclusive, but
it's when you force it. It's not only when you force it, but when you force it and you like prop it up and you tokenize it, and like we talked with the black ultramarine thing earlier. It's when you tokenize it. It's when you turn it into this big deal. Like it's one thing to just have a character who happens to be black, but you don't plaster it everywhere. You don't put it on every advertisement. You don't say, "Oh, we're being so inclusive," and if you don't like this, you're a bigot. Like if you do that shit, you're not really doing it to be inclusive. Okay, you're doing it to sell shit to people who won't buy it anyway. Again, it's kind of this weird idiocy that happens in their... I don't know if every company's CFO is just a retard nowadays, but seriously.
I mean, probably.
Yeah, WoW is dead. Yeah, WoW has been dead for a while, Yokai. I am still playing the hope against hope that it will be good. Shadowlands? Or Xbox S? Or both. WoW should have ended after Wrath of the Lich King. Okay. I usually just say Wrath of the Lich King. I don't usually shorten it. What luck. That's... There's inclusivity, and then there is good characters that happen to be X and Y. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. It's like, we were talking about inclusivity earlier with the female Space Marines and female characters in WoW. My favorite character in 40k Space Marine is Lieutenant Mira. And she's a side character.
Yeah.
But one of the best written characters in the fucking game. Her the Orc War Boss.
Yeah.
It's funny when your two favorite characters are this very well written female Imperial Guard lieutenant and the Orc War Boss.
And everybody's least favorite character is Leandros. Everybody hates him. And I hate him too. Anyway.
And I hated the Sergeant too, because the Sergeant was just retarded as hell. Like, he was selectively smart, and I hated that about him.
Yeah, smart for plot convenience. Idiotic for plot convenience as well.
Plot convenience.
So, this next one is, I found this one. It's kind of a short one. It's just one because we kind of talked about. I know I talked about it when playing Fall Guys for the channel. But Among Us, which I haven't played at all, is already having a lot of cheaters. In my opinion, this shouldn't surprise anybody. This should be like par for the course. Cheaters in Among Us and Fall Guys. If there's the ability to cheat in something, people will cheat.
Oh yeah,
that's a given. People will inherently cheat if they have the ability. Because for some reason, even in a video game where the winning and losing doesn't really matter, it's still important to people to win, so they cheat for some reason. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of point this out because I'm not surprised by this. I heard Among Us had a lot of cheaters, hackers, and issues, and that's because it's not really designed for good defense on those fronts. Well, huh?
Yeah, if people can cheat, people are going to cheat
every time. When you use force to enforce a should/ought removes n. That reads really weird. Jacob Jones, welcome to the stream.
Yeah.
So when you use force to enforce a should/ought removes n. N? Okay. Oh, he might, I guess, any moral credibility. Yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, if you have to force it, if you also have to propagate it and use it as an advertisement and tokenize it, it's not natural diversity. It's forced. It's forced so you can sell more shit, and you probably didn't actually dedicate any time to making that character or that group of characters interesting, because you were more interested in the look than you were the characters, giving them interesting, fascinating stories and experiences, worldviews. Now you're too focused on the superficial gain of the now, so you're just like, yeah, throw those characters in. Who cares if they're completely uninteresting? Or worse, Mary Sue's.
The worst kind of character.
Oh, worst kind. But yeah, Among Us has a cheating issue, so be aware if you are playing Among Us with friends. Be very, very careful, because hackers are a major issue, and cheating is a major issue at the moment in the game. And I did see that. So this is probably why I won't play it, not for a while.
Dragonis said something very interesting. I only cheat in single player for fun effects. I loved having a little car and drive around in AoE too. And I don't really see...
I think we talked about this before on another stream, but I don't really see, like, quote unquote cheating in single player cheating. I think it's just enabling an advantage for yourself, but you're not hurting anybody else. Nobody else is left at a disadvantage because of you, unless we're talking the computer, and the computer doesn't care. It's an AI. But as long as it's not inconveniencing other people, I don't consider it a cheat. I don't think you're cheating at that point. I think you're just playing the game, and you're just exploiting advantages that the game has built in.
The only time I would disagree with this is...
But it does, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else, I just don't think it's cheating.
The only time I would disagree with this is I think you should at least play through a game and beat it without cheating once.
Correct.
And again,
like Warcraft 3. Warcraft 3 is a good example. Yeah. With the cheat codes and everything, you can activate those throughout the campaign if you want to. I found that out on my 4th playthrough back in the day. Like, I knew all the cheats. I'd memorized I see dead people, who's your daddy, which is God mode, by the way. And no spaces. If anyone has... I don't know if it still works in the current Reforged. Probably not. But... I memorized those cheats. I use them pretty regularly in just custom games on single player, just to test them out, see how fun it was. But I usually played without them because it's just more fun to have the ability to lose. Greed is good, by the way, is another good cheat. Adds like at minimum it adds 1,000 gold and 1,000 lumber tier. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's the best example of what we're talking about. Yes, they're called cheat codes. Yes, they're called cheats. But I don't see them cheats because they're built-in mechanics that only work for single player. And no other player is disadvantaged by what you do. You're just kind of playing around. You're having fun. That's the point of the game. But as long as nobody else is denied fun by your action, it's not cheating in my mind. So I don't count that. I really don't. Cheat is for the after game. Yeah, cheat is for the after game after you played through once. If you never play through a game regularly once, like again, Warcraft, you owe it to yourself to play through the game. As hard as it may get, you owe it to yourself to play through the whole game. And then, if you really want to and try different things, play through again with cheats.
Something else along similar lines. It's not necessarily cheating per se, but it might as fucking well be. For Mass Effect 1, I always have two weapons I always have on me. An assault rifle with double level 10 heat sinks and really either cryo or incendiary ammo. And a shotgun with two level 7 high velocity barrels or whatever the fuck they're called. With high explosive ammo. And here's why. The shotgun will only fire one shot before it overheats. But it will knock back just about anything. And I believe it will even knock back the smaller armatures. But the assault rifle will never ever overheat. And it's not cheating per se, but it is making the game so much easier.
Yeah.
And in my review for Mass Effect 1, that's one of the problems that I have with the combat system. It's like, after you get to a certain point, the combat's too easy.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's bad, it's just they got so easy. It's like, by end game, no matter what style you're playing as, you have the same weapon.
Oh, Prince, you gotta head out, Prince of Crows. All right, have a good one, man. Thank you for joining the stream, man. Much appreciated. Have a good afternoon.
Good one.
All right. We're actually, I want to run this by you. Do you want to say, because we already kind of went at length with the female Space Marines discussion, that kind of could act as this stream's 40K discussion. We could save the other one. It would give you more time to really think over which game you like least and which game you would put in your top 3.
I have the list, but if you want to save it for the next one, then that's cool with me.
Yeah, because I think it'd be good to save that for the next one. That way we don't have to come up with a new one for the next one. We just use that one since we already talked about the female Space Marine thing, and that was pretty much the 40K discussion on this one.
Okay.
All right.
That would be.
That would be the 14th is our next stream. 14th. The 14th. And I'm also starting to lose my voice, so. Alright, so I think we'll call it there then.
Okie dokie.
Alright. You sound disappointed.
No, I'm exhausted.
Probably better we end it there then. For we both lose our energy and our entertainment value.
It's constant state for me at this point.
I get you. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much for joining the stream. We had a lot of fun. I hope you guys had fun. If there's any closing questions or stuff like that you want to throw at us, go ahead. Just, we'll take about 12 minutes, something like that. Just take any last minute questions or stuff like you guys want to talk about. And then we'll close things out. Now let my glorious banner fly. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Debino. Glad you enjoyed it, man. Shane, you arrived late? Nah, not a big deal. We're glad to have you all the same. For no matter how little or how much time you were here, you were always welcome. And will always be a welcome. I don't know what I was doing there. I guess the wrestler thing. You're welcome here, brother. How much DACA is enough DACA? There is no such thing as enough DACA. DACA. Must always go full DACA. There is no such thing as enough. Why is the Primaris Lieutenant your favorite Titan? Okay. Are you drunk? I didn't know he's drunk.
Horse Leprechaun asks quickly, as I wasn't here at the beginning, do you both think GW will eventually do a female space marine? I think it could go either way.
I think it could go either way. I think the moment that they do is the moment is the moment really I think 40k will die. Because why will anybody want to stick around for, as I said earlier, we did say this earlier, if they do that, it'll be the end of 40k. Because there will always be fans of 30k, there will always be fans of up to a certain edition. People will always have the minis and play together and older editions. But I think people will cease to be interested going forward. Because why get invested in a lore and in a universe where at the drop of a dime, the latest ideology of the day, the GW will change the lore at a whim to satisfy ideologues. Why will people want to invest themselves so much in something that could change at the earliest convenience for the company?
That's kind of...
I don't think people will stick around for it. I don't think they'll stick around for it. I wouldn't. So, I'd be done.
I mean, my thought on it is I think it really could go either way. If GW pushes back on it and be like, okay, instead of this, we'll do more Sisters of Battle, we'll do more Sisters of Science, we'll do more of main female Imperial Guard characters to placate this insane push for diversity that's already in the lore, then I think it would actually be good for GW to do it that way. But if they're like, no, we'll just do female Space Marines, and I absolutely agree that it'll kill GW.
Yeah, it'll be the end because it's not just about retconning. To add females, they would have to erase lore. And there's no retconning some of that. You have to erase it, and nobody will want to be invested in what can be changed just because a certain ideology that's not even a fan of the franchise yells loud enough on Twitter. Nobody will want to be invested. Nobody.
And then Oros Osium, to kind of counter your point, you're talking about there's no new franchises, no new ideas. It's not because everyone is scared of them. It's just there are no new ideas. I mean,
realistically, yeah. There's really just everything's pretty much been done. People have thought so outside of the box already, especially in like the 70s and 80s and 60s. That's where a lot of original stuff was created. And even then, some of it was a little derivative, but more or less, that's when all the newer stuff was made. So nowadays, it's not really possible to make something that is quote-unquote original or completely original, because on some level, everything's been done. Like with my Grimdark, I have no delusions that I'm making something that's entirely original. I think I think my take on the genre, on the style, on the lore, I think all of it is unique. But I do not think it's original. I think there's always going to be something, even if I don't look at any resources out there as I write the stories that I do, at the end of the day, whatever I write or put pen to paper for my universe, is someone's going to say, hey, that's in this universe. Or, hey, that looks exactly like this comic from the 20s. That only someone with no time on their hands would know exists. Like, it's stuff like that. That's something creators have to face nowadays. Is there's really nothing new to come up with. The only thing that's original is how you approach something. Like how do you approach fantasy? How do you tell it? That's original. Yeah. That's unique. But I don't think the idea itself can be new anymore. Unfortunately.
And Fincarn, you're absolutely wrong. Like, you can't... Grimdark's been done to death. Sci-fi has been done to death.
Fantasy has been done to death.
Everything has really been done to death. The only thing that you can do new is the way in which you tell it.
Correct.
And that's essentially it. It's not that there are new ideas. There will always be influences for your ideas. For instance, let's say you want to write a grimdark sci-fi. Chances are you'll take influence from 40k, maybe Star Wars, maybe even Star Trek. You'll take influences from different things. You can take influence from real world things that happen. You know, you could take influences from anything. that immediately makes it unoriginal because you are basing it off something else, or you're taking inspiration.
Correct. And again, you got to keep in mind the true definition of something being original is that it's brand new, that nothing is derived from something else. If even one iota of what you're producing is derived from something else, it is now no longer original. So, as much as you strongly disagree, you're disagreeing with fact. You're disagreeing with reality. Is everything has essentially been done. Even if you came up with something randomly in your own head and think it's never been done before, trust me, you throw it up on the internet, someone will hit you hard with reality saying, yes, it's been done before. Someone's done something like that before. It's unfortunate. I'm not saying I want you to be wrong. I wish you were right. I wish there was new ideas out there, but there really isn't. Everything has been done before. Everything.
I use Grimdark as an example. There's just no new ideas. It's just how you tell your perception of ideas or events that have already happened.
Yeah. That's all that's really new at the moment.
And I kind of jumped over this. Horace Leprechaun said, "What makes me laugh, they call us gatekeepers for not wanting female space marines." Well, to be kind of the devil's advocate here,
I don't think it's gatekeeping though. It's not gatekeeping. It really isn't. It really isn't.
It's because the idea, for me anyway, the way I look at it is gatekeepers do what they can to keep. They don't keep the lore stagnant, but they keep it within lore. And it's not just with the female space marines. There are good cases of there are good cases of gatekeeping and bad cases of gatekeeping. And that's kind of what's going on now, is it's just getting thrown together.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't think it's gatekeeping, though. I don't think we're preventing anybody from joining the hobby. We're preventing people who are not in the hobby as it is to change something they're not involved in. Like, these people aren't interested in getting into the hobby. We're not preventing anybody from joining. We're just telling them they can't change it at a whim because they want to.
And I think that's what kind of makes it gatekeeping.
I don't think that's gatekeeping, though. You're not denying... the traditional definition of gatekeeping is you're denying somebody an identity. Like, that's the quote-unquote definition of... And the thing is, you're not denying somebody the ability to join the hobby. You're denying them the ability to change it because they think it should change. That's not gatekeeping. That is telling them to accept the way it is. If they don't want it to be the way it is, then fine. They don't have to be a fan of the franchise. They can leave.
I agree with that, but I would even say I see that as gatekeeping as well.
I don't see that as gatekeeping at all.
Because I mean, the only reason I say it is because it's literally saying, like, you can come in, but we're not going to change just to appease you.
Exactly. That's not gatekeeping.
Well, to this,
if I entered your house and said, "Hey, you have to move your furniture around to satisfy my needs," are you denying me entrance to your house? Or are you just saying, "No, I don't want to move my furniture around just because of you"?
I would just look at you like you were insane. But yeah, I get your point. I do. It's just one where I think we're going to have to agree to do. Because for me, it goes along the belief that no matter what, something would have to change. Either the person's belief or get out, or the IP itself would have to change.
Like I said, I don't see it as gatekeeping. I see it as being consistent and wanting a hobby to keep its identity.
I mean, change is good. It's just not all change is good.
Change can be good if it doesn't kill what was there before.
Right.
Hello, Lazaru. Poor timing. We're about to end the stream. Yeah, there is stagnation and there is consistency. Exactly.
I mean, this kind of goes back to what I said. You know, change can be good. Not all change is good.
Yeah, but okay. So I'm gonna say any. We'll take one last question or anything like that if people want to throw one out. Yeah, 30 seconds on the clock. Oh, I had to pop my neck there. Oh. God damn it. Yeah. It's okay. We've been going. You can watch the playback. Pineapple on pizza? No. Ew. Gross. How dare you? Boxers or briefs? Boxers. All the way. How much soap to clean the Nurgle Marines? There isn't such a thing.
My pizza is normally pineapple, black olives.
Tolkien was the last greatest original fantasy creator for me, but even he derived his work from Norse and Anglo-Saxon mythology with a decent dose of Catholicism. Yeah, you're right. And again, it comes down to his take and his method was original. Just not the source of information or the ideas in general weren't just completely original. That's why you can't copyright ideas anyway. 'Cause you can copyright like products, but you can't copyright ideas. We need a god of Dawn soap for all that dirt and grime.
Really, the dirt and grime that's brought with the plague marines. I think it's the intestines hanging out that might be the problem.
Yeah. Alright. How dare you disagree with the god of change? Right, and changes need to be properly vetted. Correct, and I think they need to be vetted as much by the company as they do the community. I think every major change that will affect how people will consume a universe and a product needs to be... There needs to be test audiences, for one. Like, I think if you got a group of actual fans... Oh, thank you for the super chat, Maldus Oliver. The only way I see GW adding female Space Marines is either a lazy retcon of the Lost Primarch or by Age of Sigmaring all of Warhammer 40,000 to make the new golden age of technology. And yeah, we talked about that before. Thank you for the super chat, VMC Wolverine. Bought myself a new gun. Look up the Meridian Defense Apocalypse Series War. I might give that a look. Okay. But
praise be to you, mighty donator.
There goes the alert.
Is that the Meridian Iron Guard? Is that? I don't think that's who comes from that.
I'm assuming. It says, look up Meridian Defense Apocalypse.
Praise be to you, mighty donator.
But yeah, we did talk at length about it earlier, Maldus. If you weren't here for that, I recommend you watch the playback. We've kind of gone at length about it a little bit. But to summarize our thoughts again, I think the moment they try and add female Space Marines will be the end of 40k. I truly believe that, because no one's going to want to get invested in a universe and in a lore that can change at the drop of a hat because an ideology whines enough on Twitter. If that happens, people will just simply lose interest in investment. Because what if you don't reward investment, or in this case do the opposite of it, rewarding investment and simply change information and lore, and again, people won't want to be invested. They just will lose all interest. Yeah, that would be a shot in the foot if they touched that racked of a hot water. But yeah, thank you guys for the last minute super chats, much appreciated. Richard Valls, GW's own greed will protect them from this. They know what the people want, and they know their people. People love to trash talk GW, but look at the sales of Call stuff. Huh? Yeah, Call stuff is being sold pretty well. Stuff in general is still selling pretty well, I'm pretty sure. But I stand by what I've said. I think the core audience won't be able to stomach just the... And again, it won't be just because they're adding female Space Marines. It'll be the fact that there's nothing to get invested in now. Because at any moment, all the stuff that we spend so much time, energy, and passion learning and absorbing can just be changed because of the convenience of people bitching on Twitter. Like, why would you want? Would you be as invested in Lord of the Rings if Tolkien halfway through the book, just threw in, okay, half the shit you just read is now no longer canon, or half the shit you just absorbed and learned didn't actually happen? It was all a dream.
Yeah.
Would you be invested anymore? Would you care anymore? Would you want to continue reading past that halfway point? Would you? If you say yes, you're fucking full of shit. You're a liar, and a blatant one at that. You would not be invested anymore. You'd be done.
One of my
Accept reality.
one of my favorite things to bitch about is how the best scene in the Twilight movies was a fucking dream sequence.
Yeah, but I stand by it that in the years I've been a fan of 40K, I love the lore. I love the Sisters of Battle, Sisters of Silence. Again, watch the playback of this stream when it ends to get our full perspective, because we spent like the first 45-hour-long part of it talking about this topic. If you want our full info on that, go and check that out. But yeah, I stand by that it'll be the end. Alright, so that does it for the stream, guys. We've been going for 2 hours. Almost lost my voice there. If you guys are interested in our full take on the female Space Marine stuff, like I said, we spent the first hour of the stream or so talking about it and explaining our take. Richard Valdis, if you care to hear our perspective, that's where it'll be at. If you don't want to hear that, that's fine. Orthodox Christian choir music? What? Yeah, that's epic music. I prefer Powerwolf. Some heavy metal, some power metal, something like that. Not a major fan of choir music. It's not bad. It's just not my thing. Yeah, you are late because we're ending the stream, Sandman. But if you're interested in our take on the female Space Marines, we talked about it for the first hour of the stream. But yeah, we're gonna call it here. Before I lose my voice. Thank you guys so much for enjoying the Geeks Theoreticus podcast. We had a lot of fun. And yeah, if you're curious, again, from the title of the Female Space Marines, start from the beginning of the stream. That's when we talk about it the most. But see you guys later. Bye-bye. I'm surprised we only got one dickhead at the end of the stream.